breakfast we serve about 2,000 reimbursable breakfasts, and for lunch we serve about 4,000 reimbursable lunches, and then we also have the a la carte program for lunch. What I can tell you was that last year we had a pilot program, and it was the first time any of us had ever had any experience at all with farm to school, and we started it in the spring of last year and continued it through the summer, and then we did some farm to school purchasing the fall of this particular school year. We started purchasing fruits and vegetables from local farmers because of the information that was available in the newspaper and on the internet, and we had heard that Texas was doing a wonderful job with their farm to school programs. We had a meeting with the gentlemen and the farmers that represented the Kerr Center, and we had a meeting with local farmers that were selected by the Kerr Center employees, and basically started our own plan of action. And at that point we discovered that there were no rules that we were aware of, so we just started purchasing from local farmers that had the ability to get us fruits and vegetables to our schools. Whenever we have a farmer that tells us that they have a certain item available, then I do have the flexibility to make a quick menu change, and we will certainly get that particular fruit and or vegetable on the menu. I can tell you that we only have one barrier at this point in time, and that is that we do not have the availability for a farmer to service all of our sites. So we have to use local grown produce, and then we have to supplement it with produce purchased from another vendor. We normally pay fair market value based on Dallas pricing. Fair market value means the cost of the good to be sold at the fair market value according to the Dallas pricing. We have a purchase order for all the vendors, and they are paid just like any other regular vendor, so there's basically no discrimination whatsoever whether you are a vendor for regular produce or you're a local farmer. They're treated just like any other vendor. They do provide an invoice to us upon delivery. I would say, okay, if strawberries are available, it takes so many pounds for us for one meal. Can you provide that? And so it's yes or no answer. Most of the time they will not be able to provide it. Now summer feeding is a different situation, because we do have the availability for local farmers to provide fruits and vegetables for us during summer feeding, and it can satisfy the requirements for all of our schools, but not during the regular school year. Because the supply is limited oftentimes, because of our menus, we have fresh fruit and veggie bars every day. We do have the ability to incorporate the supply from the local farmer, and then we supplement it with other vendors. I can tell you the produce that we have received from local farmers has been wonderful. It's been clean, and we've had no concerns whatsoever. The reaction of our students has been wonderful. I don't know oftentimes if they realize the difference in the produce on the serving line between that has been purchased by local farmers and that's been purchased by regular vendors, but they love the fresh fruits and they love the fresh produce. I see an advantage of purchasing from a local farmer as the availability to get the produce very quickly, and it's very, very fresh. Normally in the spring we purchase asparagus, and then of course we start the strawberry season and we start the squash. Last summer we purchased strawberries and the asparagus and the squash, potatoes. Then in the fall we kind of start the process again and go with the asparagus and the squash. As many fruits as we can find, but oftentimes it would just be for one school. Now the spring of '06 we're starting the strawberries again, and the asparagus and the squash, and hopefully the potatoes. I think our farm to school program, purchasing program, and our wellness policy is a joint effort. We try to offer a minimum of 4 fruits fresh and 4 vegetables fresh every day, so that the students and the staff members can go through the cafeteria lines. And our motto is take what you want, but please eat what you take, and we do limit them to 2 portions of any one particular fruit, because they do love strawberries and they love grapes.
My husband and I started here in Payne County over 20 years ago producing vegetables for Fresh Market. We start out in the month of April with asparagus and have a variety of different produce that we sell at Stillwater Farmers Market, the Edmond Farmers Market, restaurants and grocery stores. We end up our season in October. November is when the last frost comes in. Yeah, our farm decided to start selling vegetables to the Stillwater schools because Vici Grimes, who is in charge of the child nutrition there in Stillwater schools, contacted our farm and was interested in purchasing from us. Because Stillwater School is not my main market, I produce enough produce for my other markets and then take into consideration the Stillwater schools. Currently, because of the way the Stillwater schools operates, we have not had to change our planting schedules because we can either produce for them in late spring or their summer schools or in the early fall. We feel that our product is very safe for all of our consumers because we've been in this business for a long time. We don't just guess at what we're doing. We want to make a profit at what we're doing, and so therefore we're not going to go out and use a chemical without knowing what it is and how to use it. We're not going to use anything for anybody that we're not going to use for our own family. When you use pesticides or herbicides in your field, it's just like using medicine over the counter. You don't use aspirin the same way you'd use Advil. You read the label and you follow the instructions. They're approved, those medicines are approved for certain problems that you might encounter. Your chemicals are also labeled for certain problems. You know, my husband is a certified applicator. He reads the labels and follows the instructions. Okay. Just like medicines, if you use them the way the labels tell you to use them, then they're going to be safe. If you misuse them, then they're not going to be safe. It's that reading the label, you know, for the chemicals to be safe. The label will tell you whether it's approved for onions or potatoes or strawberries. Okay. No, I have not had to purchase any special equipment in order to sell produce to the Stillwater schools because that's what we're already doing, and we're already equipped to do that. The vegetables that's been most successful for use in the schools is late in the fall. The watermelons has been a very high success for the schools and for the farmers. There are other products, other vegetables that can be used early in the spring, and that's going to be an education between farmer and schools as to what they can produce and what the schools can use. Any farmer in Oklahoma will be able to produce for the schools. We start out in April with asparagus. We go into May and June with strawberries and blackberries. We'll have onions and new potatoes, summer squash, yellow squash, and zucchini. We'll have cucumbers, eggplants, tomatoes, sweet corn. We'll start into the hard summer crops as okra, peppers. We'll have into the fall then we'll continue to have sweet corn, watermelons, cantaloupe, and we'll finish up with Anaheim peppers just before frost. Our soil conditions here happen to be kind of a sandy loam. Crop failure in Oklahoma is fairly common because there is no normal year. Every year is different, so we're continually battling some phase of the weather. It's either too dry, it's too wet, we've had too much hail, we haven't had enough water, we had a late frost, we had an early frost. So you plant a lot and anticipate that something is going to be wonderful. We've considered growing our farm for the last 20 years, and my husband and I both have full-time jobs. Our children have been raised on this, and they're currently in college and getting ready to graduate from college. We're looking at retirement, and the question is still always the same as it was 20 years ago. Do we grow bigger? Do we get smaller? We've just kind of putted along from a few acres to now to producing about 10. Okay. Another vegetable that I can see that maybe our farm or another local farm could add that the schools could use would be some of the early crops as far as radishes, lettuces, spinach, and other greens that would be an early spring product that we currently don't grow for the farmers markets but could be grown here. Okay. We have a small greenhouse that we start production plants in, but not producing vegetables. We also have what is called a hoop house, which has a small amount of produce for an early season in it. We produce till frost, which usually falls in October or November. I think it's an excellent opportunity for a small farmer or a new farmer beginning to start out in the produce business and use the schools as one of their main market outlets. My advice to someone wanting to start to sell produce to the local schools would be to learn industry standards. You need to know what your produce needs to look like when it goes to market. You need to learn what sizes they come, what size it should be in when it's shipped. You need to know what size of container that they're expecting, because when you contact that purchaser at the schools, they're gonna know what they can get commercially, and they need to be able to compare your price and your product with theirs, and it makes it a lot easier on both the seller and the buyer.
I think the mark of a good food service director 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, was more about money than it is or was about nutrition. And nutrition was not that important. You had to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, and you had to make money. You had to make profit. And if you did, you kept your job, and if you didn't, you might not have a job. And then at that point, times have changed, things have changed, kiddos have changed, menus have changed, and now nutrition is so much more important than the money factor. And I think now that I'm proud to say that the mark of a good child nutrition food service director is more about the nutritional foods that you're serving your kiddos rather than the amount of money that you're making in your department. But I truly encourage any food service director that's questioning whether or not the kiddos are going to eat fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, have a tasting party. Give them one little bite on their tray. Let them identify and touch and feel and taste a radish, broccoli, cauliflower, fresh green squash, fresh summer squash, cucumbers. We found that the kiddos didn't know what cucumbers were. And at this point, we do have several schools that just can't cut cucumbers fast enough. The kids love them. One of the differences, I think, for next year that we plan to incorporate is we're going to do some gardening. We not only will be serving fresh fruits and vegetables from local farmers, but hopefully we'll be growing some of our own fresh fruits and vegetables. The advice for a new food service director or food service director that has had experience to start a farm-to-school program, just try it. Just get out there, get your feet wet, get on the internet, get all the information possible, and give it a try, because I promise you will not be disappointed. We are going to continue our farm-to-school program, and hopefully it will be much larger and much better than last year.